Three things to remember while materializing your desired reality. Now, I've been hired by Hollywood actors, professional footballers, NFL athletes, 6 to 8 figure entrepreneurs, 7 figure law firms, all for one purpose, and that is helping people maintain their frequency long enough for it to materialize in their desired reality. Because the maintaining of frequency is of the highest importance when it comes to materializing your desired reality. Very often do you enter the frequency or the state of consciousness or the self-concept resonant and equative and reflective to your desired reality. But if you forget three things, that maintenance will fall. Now, I need you to understand something. Like I said, there's three things in particular that you should never forget while manifesting. So long as you remember these three things, your journey to materializing your desired reality will be nice and smooth. But each time you forget these things, it will unfortunately set you on a pathway back to the old frequency and the old reality that you're trying to step away from. So let's get into it. Where's my spray? Perfect. And as you can see, he's confused, right?
Best drawing.
Right?
This
Magnet. Radio. Let's get into it.
I didn't know about the Snow Bunny song, but you told me about it. And
Oh, the
this
Snow
guy-
Bunny Heaven tune.
Yeah, bro. And this guy commented, my new song Snow Bunny Heaven by Young Camel Toe just reached 4 million streams on Spotify because of this knowledge.
That song
Thank
has
you,
done
Nero.
irreparable damage.
See what
to
you
that
cause it.
community. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Bro said 4 million streams.
4 mil streams. Congratulations nonetheless.
Black Queens forever.
Snow bunnies never. Real talk, if it ain't melanin, I ain't settling. You know what I'm saying? That's a bar that actually has to be written down.
That's a boss though.
Thank you. Alright, cool. Alright, so one thing that I have to preface this by is coming to the understanding that on the journey to the materialization of your desired reality, this is nothing more than you shifting from one frequency to another. And one thing that I like to make abundantly clear, let me choose purple. One thing that I'd like to make abundantly clear is that frequencies in of themselves are addictive. States of consciousness, frequency, self-concept, however you want to conceptualize it. Either way, your frequency that you exist in is addictive. Now, unfortunately, due to the fact that we cultivate some type of addiction to a particular frequency, we all see people that can't seem to get out their own way, no matter how hard they try. This may even be us to some degree or another. And that's nothing more than the phenomenon of frequencies being addictive. Now, the most addictive frequency in particular will be your old frequency. Now, your old frequency is directly opposed to the materialization of your desired reality, because a new reality entails a new frequency. So in a sense, think about it like this. You're shifting from one addiction to another. But as you're trying to break addiction, you have to deal with the effects of the addiction. So I need you to conceptualize your old frequency as a version of you that exists metaphysically on the spiritual plane and the mental plane. Now that frequency, or that old frequency, is an entity. An entity is a spiritual organism without a particular body because it exists on the physical plane. And that entity has the capability of altering your reality on the spiritual plane and the mental plane, which is the highest level of existence, which are the causal factors which then lead to the materialization, or our reality, which is an effect. Your old frequency represents, it represents your old beliefs, it represents your old attitude, it represents your old expectations or the things that you've normalized. It normalizes your most emotionally charged thoughts, ECT, emotionally charged thoughts. It also represents where you've been focusing on. Now, when you enter a new state of consciousness or a new frequency, these are all the factors that you have to then alter and change away, and conviction being another one. But as you do that, your old frequency is going to be like, whoa. Now you're fucking with my existence. And like any entity, right? And religious people aren't entirely wrong when they say that, you know, there's these entities that want to make deals with humans to enter their body. That's not entirely a false concept. Or all spirits want to be materialized. They all want to experience some type of physical materialization, a physical expression. And this old frequency's physical expression is the reality that you currently live in, or the reality that you're trying to move away from. So it wants to have an existence physically, and it does that by altering and keeping all of these things in alignment to everything that's reflective. So in order for you to go somewhere you've never been, you need to become someone you've never been, which would require a complete alteration in your beliefs, your attitude, your expectations, your emotionally charged thoughts, where you're focusing on, you're placing your attention and your conviction. Now, unfortunately, in the same way that when you try breaking addiction, there's withdrawal symptoms. There's metaphysical withdrawal symptoms of you trying to leave one frequency into another. And the reason I say all of this is because you're going to have to understand how the three things you don't forget. The three things you don't forget is all caused by this. Your old frequency will make you forget all the things that I'm about to go through. And make sure you're taking notes and leaving them in the comments. Your old frequency will make you forget everything that I'm about to go through, for the purpose of making sure that if you forget these things, then you have more chances of descending back into its paradigm. And once you descend back into its paradigm, you end up descending back into your old reality, or the reality that you're trying to move away from. So, short preface. Now let's get to it. Relax. You're gonna get some.
I'm relaxed, bro. We're all relaxed.
Good. I only ever want you to be relaxed, man.
On the topic of snow bunnies, someone said, I think Nero reads our minds. Some of these videos will be spot on addressing some real life situations. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but yo, big ups. I manifested my first white girlfriend.
Why is that something to specify? Why can't they just, you know what? Yeah.
He's proud, man.
See, this is why you can't take the internet too serious. Why do you have to specify she's white? Why can't she just be your girlfriend? What other comments do you have?
Nero.
Hopefully some more serious ones.
Yeah, this one's serious. This guy's serious. Nero, you're gonna call me a horny nigga.
Okay.
But
okay, so it's not serious.
But I realized I manifested hot women in general because 3 years ago, I'd be thinking how nice it would be to have some of them, and would think that would be impossible. But now for some reason I have so much, I'm tired. And other things I manifested, like a football jersey for free, a MacBook Pro, also as a gift.
Much better.
And a lot of unexpected money.
That's much better. That's much better. That's much better.
It's not
greedy boy. Man said he's tired now. Sorry. Alright, cool. Let's go with blue. Any other ones before I start the first point?
Someone said your drawings are improving.
This is something you guys have never heard before, because this is something that I actually came up with as I was writing my book, which by the time you've seen this video, it should be out. So just check the description in case it is. But what was you saying?
Someone said your drawings are improving. Babies grow so fast.
This is a concept which you guys have never heard me speak about before, and you won't hear this anywhere. Why? Because I came up with it myself. Cool. The first thing that you must never forget, and guys, please go through each of one of these points, because what you're going to realize is that every time you feel like you fall off your frequency, it's going to be because you've forgotten one of these three things. So please stay with me. So the first thing you must never forget is the infinite card shuffle of reality. AJ's even looking confused. He's never heard it before.
Never heard this.
Of course. Now, one thing that you guys have to understand is this. Due to the fact that the all exists within you, whether you want to conceptualize the all as God, the infinite intelligence, it's just the easy way to conceptualize what we can call the creator, right? Because it encapsulates quite literally its entirety, the all. Because the all exists within you, as it's stated in Corinthians, you are the dwelling place or the temple of God. And as it says in John, I believe, no, I think it was Corinthians again, Paul wrote to the Corinthians, do you not know that Christ is within you? Unless you have failed the test and you are disqualified. It's the understanding that the infinite intelligence or God or the all is in you. And because that aspect of infinite is in you, you then unfortunately have the opportunity and access to all frequencies. And when I say all frequencies, that means all realities. And if we look at it from a quantum mechanical standpoint, all universes, parallel universes. Let me explain what I mean. Now, despite you doing the work that you've been doing when it comes to the materialization of your desired reality, there will be instances where you get hit with some completely random bullshit. What do I mean by this? You can be meditating, you could be visualizing, you could be doing your affirmations, you could be doing everything that it is that you need to do. You could be doing all of that. And you feel like you're maintaining frequency, you're doing everything exactly the way you should be, and then boom, something goes wrong. And your mind can't seem to understand why the fuck is this happening? Like, what's going on here? It doesn't make any sense. I've been good. I've been on my shit. I've been keeping everything aligned. I've been doing everything that a random nigga on YouTube talks about. Why is it still not working? I got a page full of notes. What's going on? It's due to what I call the phenomenon of the infinite card shuffle. Now, once again, just to say it all again, due to the fact that the all is within you, or the infinite is within you, that gives you access to all frequencies, or realities, in all particular parallel universes, all the same things. To conceptualize it, can also conceptualize it as having access to what's considered the Akashic records, or the fourth dimension. Now, due to the fact that the all is within you, all realities can be experienced. And what I mean by that is this: if you kind of conceptualize yourself as a radio, you're kind of tuned into every particular reality. Now, the whole purpose of materializing your desired reality is to calibrate your frequency to a point where it's reflective and resonant of your desired reality, because frequency is nothing more than immaterialized reality, and reality is nothing more than materialized frequencies. The same way that steam and ice are the exact same energy, steam being the imagination or your state of consciousness, and ice being your reality. If you alter the rate of vibration through an alteration of your concentration, it leads to you shifting across the poles, leading to materialization of reality. Now, when we're talking about this, there will be instances where, due to the fact that you have access to all, unfortunately, there'll be instances where you experience what's considered random realities. You'll be doing everything so well and something will go wrong. Why? It's because of what I conceptualize as the infinite card shuffle. If you imagine reality to dish out cards, right? There will be instances where, unfortunately, there are hands that you receive that are unwanted. You will get given a card that you don't want. A card in this instance represents a reality. Think about a dealer that shuffles cards. You're not particularly in control of the conditions or the cards that you were given. Indirectly, yes, through consciousness, but directly, no. However, what you are responsible is for this. And I need you to understand this, and please write this down as I'm about to say. It's not about what's going to happen. It's about who you're going to be when it does. That's a bar, write that down, understand what I said. It's not about what's going to happen. It's about who you're going to be when it does. What do I mean by this? Let's say reality deals you a shit card. We have two choices as human beings. We can either hold on to the card or reject the card. More often than not, you hold the card. How do I hold the card, Nero? How do I reject it? Relax, you're gonna get some. The way that you go about holding the card is through one thing in particular. Let me write that here. We go and hold the cards through an emotional reaction. Why? Because you have to understand something, and this all ties into your old frequency, as I kind of mentioned at the start. Your old frequency understands one thing. It understands how hard you try. It understands all the shit that you do. Why? Because it's with you wherever you go. It's an aspect of your consciousness, right? It's a version of you that exists on another state of existence, on another plane of existence. It sees everything you do. And what it wants to do is to make you feel like everything you're doing is in vain and this shit doesn't work. And it's quite marvelous. It's actually quite genius when you think about it, because it wants to take advantage of the fact that you are trying so hard and you're making all of these changes and you're attempting to follow in the pathway to your desired reality. So what it will do, understanding that there's an infinite card shuffle of reality and there will be instances where you are dealt cards that you don't want, it will get you to unconsciously hold on to the card by emotionally reacting. Why? Because when something doesn't go your way, or something that you intended to happen doesn't go the way that you wanted, you become apathetic. You're like, fuck this shit, doesn't even fucking work anyways. You become deflated. You become frustrated. You become irritated. Why? Because it's just not fucking working. Without realizing that in doing so and descending to that state of consciousness of frustration, of upset, of apathy, you then hold the card. And guess what? When you hold that card becomes yours. What do I mean when I say yours? It becomes your universe. And now, what should have been an opportunity for you to reject the card has now become a permanent condition. I'll give you an example. let's say, let's use Brown. Let's say that there's been a period of time you've been unemployed and you're attempting to materialize getting a job. And let's say for whatever reason, you apply for another job that you really wanted, it doesn't come through. Now you have the opportunity to, and bear in mind, you could be doing all the meditations, the manifestation, you could be doing all the internal work that you need to be, and it still doesn't materialize the way you wanted it to. It's not about what's going to happen, it's about who you're going to be when it does. And when it does happen, you're like, fuck, shit doesn't fucking work, man. It's not working. It's not working. Without realizing that in that instance, that card that you got dealt was simply a card representative of unemployment, which you have now held onto, and now you hold onto it, becomes yours, and then it becomes your universe, and then you're trapped in a particular condition where you can't get employed. I believe there's an email that I received about...
Yes, I was literally about to read that next.
Yeah, perfect. Synchronous timing.
I appreciate you for the knowledge and opportunities you gave me and many others. You helped me get 3 job interviews when I couldn't get one for months. You changed the lives of many people. I wish the best for you, man. Thanks again.
What's his name?
Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Quite literally, case in point, right? It's the understanding that even though reality isn't giving you what you want, if you hold on to what it's giving you, which isn't what you want, then you can only materialize what you don't want. That's a bar that down. Understand, it's not about what's going to happen. It's about who you're going to be when it does. I need you to understand something very importantly. I need you to be able to stand in an unwanted reality in a wanted state. What do I mean by that? You need to stand in an undesired reality in a state of consciousness of your desired reality. How do I do that, Nero? Discipline. What other choice do you have? There's a certain level of internal discipline that has to be put into place, because if you don't have the capability of disciplining yourself, how could you possibly discipline the universe? You are the universe, quite literally. So how do we go about rejecting cards from the infinite card shuffle? Because like I said, there are going to be instances where despite all this shit that you're doing and the notes that you're taking and all of this and all of that, it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. You are dealt a card that is unwanted. Why? Because you have access to the all is in you, which means that you have access to all frequencies or realities, all frequencies whether negative or positive, or realities whether negative or positive, parallel universes whether negative or positive, which then you experience in reality without realizing that that is a card that you were dealt and then you held. How do you reject it? $1 million question. That's what makes all the difference. This is what makes all the difference. I'll give another example. Let's say that you're out here trying to manifest a particular healthy relationship. You get into a relationship with an individual, they seem quite nice, and then some bullshit happens and they're toxic and it goes wrong and it goes this and this and that. Let's say in that particular instance, I need you to conceptualize it as, infinite card shuffle. Because I have access to all frequencies, part of me was able to then materialize this individual, but now do I want to hold on to what this particular individual represents and understand that if you hold on to what this frequency represents and you become ensnared within its paradigm, you become ensnared within its beliefs, and beliefs are boundaries, energetic boundaries, and you cannot walk outside of the belief. No more you can walk outside of a boundary. You then have to understand that this individual, this toxic relationship was a toxic card that was given to you. Do I hold it or do I reject it? What do most people do? They hold on to it, despite all the work that they've been doing. Why? It's the same thing. This is exactly what I walk my clients through. I keep telling you, lot, everything I'm telling you here is exactly what I tell my clients. This is more than enough. But if you are an entrepreneur who's stuck between, if you're stuck at a revenue ceiling and you want to break out in the next 6 weeks and 2 to 5x your revenue without making any changes to your business, just change to your consciousness and your frequencies, the link in the description. But how do we reject? How do we reject? You reject by design over default. What is the default expectation that your old frequency is expecting when you were given an unwanted card, an unwanted reality? Somebody pisses you off when you've been trying to do this shit. You don't get that girl when you wanted that girl. You don't get that guy when you wanted that guy. You don't get that opportunity when you wanted that opportunity. You don't get the amount of money that you wanted to make. Some bullshit happens. When reality is constantly giving you cards, I need you to perceive every condition, circumstance, event, and person as a card. Do you want to hold on to them or do you want to reject them? How do I hold on to them? You hold on to them through an emotional reaction, typically of apathy, frustration, being deflated and irritated. Why? Because all of these emotions represent frequencies, which frequencies are nothing more than glued conditions and circumstances. You stick to yourself and hold on to that card ever so tightly by your emotional reaction and your mental acceptance as, this is what it is. No, that's not what it is. That's the way you are. And that's what borrow that down. Reject through design instead of default. You need to be able to stand in an unwanted reality in a wanted consciousness. So when reality deals you out a card, you don't say, this is the way it is.
Things have never been the same.
That's just the way it is. It's not. It's an opportunity for it to be the way that it is, depending upon your acceptance. Your acceptance of a particular condition, circumstance, event, or what a person represents is ultimately what is accepted into your subconscious mind and then accepted into your reality. But also, you have the ability to reject because you don't understand something. And what you don't understand is that all of this shit is a choice. All of this shit is a choice. It just doesn't feel like a choice because you made the decision so long ago that it became normal and you think it was something just the way it is. No, it's a choice. So when you experience a particular condition, circumstance, event, stand in the state of consciousness of your desired reality in the face of an unwanted reality, because that's the only way you're going to transmute reality. How could you ever expect to transmute reality if you can't even transmute within yourself? How? In the face of being in a reality and an externality of being broke internally, you need to be rich. In the externality of terrible relationships, you need to be in healthy relationships. In the externality of struggling to get a job, you need to already be employed. In the externality of desiring a promotion that you deserve but you haven't got, you need to stand promoted and already in the position you want to be. You need to understand. It's not about what's going to happen, but who are you going to be when it does? Because when you're dealt an unwanted card and you descend into these, what you're saying to the universe is, earn it, faster, stronger. You're saying that particular condition of reality is stronger than you through your acceptance of that particular frequency. Because unfortunately, whatever is stronger than you from a point of frequency you submit to. And strength in terms of frequency is anything that has the capability of altering you internally. And if it has the capability of altering you internally, then it can alter you externally without you understanding that you can't let it alter you internally. You have to alter you internally, even in the face of externality. It's not about what's going to happen. What is it about? Who you're going to be when it does. In the meantime, oh shit.
Someone asked, are you in your boxers?
Yes, I'm actually wearing nothing. I'm literally just wearing a vest and everything below is just out.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
See, because having that level of freedom below allows the energy to rise up. Make sure you put the spooky music when you're editing this. Literally.
Here after I lost 1.5k gambling.
Say that again?
He said, here after I lost 1.5k gambling.
You know what they say, you're one loss away from winning it all. Nah, bro, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
Gambling is dark, man.
Nah, gambling is dark still. I've never been a gambler, but I can't lie. If there's one thing that I think is destroying the black community, it has to be bets.
Yeah.
It has to be bets.
100%.
I seen one of my brothers have a bet. I'm like, oh, he's like, oh, there's a couple games later. I said, cool. How much are you betting? He was like £1.47. I said, how are you doing that? He said, I got like 15 bets. How much you betting across each bet? Like 20, like what? How does that even work? What do they call them? Parlays?
I call it an ACCA.
Okay.
When you bet on multiple teams on one day or something.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. Hey, man. Manifest it, innit?
This one's a nice one. I truly appreciate you, Nero. You are the real deal. I'm 50 years old and I've never experienced this level of freedom I'm experiencing now. Thank you so much, Nero. Blessings be multiplied unto you. What up, AJ? Love you, brothers. Peace and
Yeah,
blessings.
forget AJ. Yeah, that's so nice. No, we appreciate you. Thank you. That's really nice. And I like the fact that you mentioned you too. Lovely. So, the second thing to never forget while you are manifesting is what your old frequency will play on you. And that's a very, very sneaky trick. The sneaky trick of perfection. How does the old frequency do this? Now, there's one thing you have to understand in particular. You have to understand that psychologically, the old frequency understands how your mind works. It understands your subconscious mind, and it understands things about you that you're not even aware of. And it also understands what you're attaining, right? What you're desiring to attain. It understands the target of your new frequency and your new reality. So it does something up which is absolutely marvelous. When I think about it, it's actually quite crazy. So what your old frequency will do, it will utilize your idea of perfection. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, due to the fact that you want to shift realities, there's a particular conceptualization or an idea or an image of what you need to be like and need to move like, operate like, think like, so on and so forth. So your old frequency will do one thing. It will say, target this particular concept of perfection. It will say, yeah, I want you to get in your desired reality. Now go for it. Go on. Go for it. Go. Keep going. Why? Because it understands one thing in particular, and that is you cannot strive for perfection. Now, what do I mean by this? It's very common, more often than not, I'll either get messages or emails from people, or I'll be on calls with my clients and they're like, man, I fell off the wagon. I fell off the frequency that I was supposed to be maintaining. I fell off. Like, I got thrown off my frequency. Guys, I need you to understand something. That is fucking normal. And it's fine. In fact, it's great. And the reason I say that is this. Your old frequency doesn't want you to think it's normal. It wants you to think that there's a particular idea of perfection that you need to strive for, that you need to be walking around. I don't know why I walked around like that, but you need to be walking around like that in reflection of your new frequency and making sure that you're on point to such a degree, so on and so forth. It's this idea of perfection. Why does it paint that image? Because it knows it doesn't exist. And when you fall short, you fall into the old frequency. That's a bar that down. Now, when I say fall short, you're thinking, oh, when I don't do the things I'm supposed to do. No, I mean, when I say fall short, I mean a descent of consciousness. The original fall of man, a descent of consciousness. And what often happens is when you're not able to attain this particular concept of perfection of what you need to be like and how you need to move like and how you need to think like and how you need to feel like and the things you need to believe and the things you pour your attention into and your habits and all of this and all of that, any particular instance where you don't equate to that idea of perfection, you then fall short mentally. And the mental falling short isn't necessarily you doing anything wrong physically. It's the mental descent of your consciousness and emotions, because then you then begin to do what? Feel guilty. You beat yourself up internally. You feel guilty. You beat yourself up. You're annoyed with yourself. You're frustrated with yourself. All of which equates to a particular degree of disharmony. Now, understand one thing in particular. Old frequency is absolutely amazing because it understands if it can get you internally to a state of disharmony, guess what's going to happen externally? Disharmony. When you are beating yourself up internally, guess what the world is going to do? Beat you up. Why? Because the universe magnifies your state of consciousness, the 2 M's, right? What I call the mechanics of the universe in my book. You beat yourself up internally, guess what? Then it will feel like the world is against you. Has it ever felt like the world is against you? Yes, it was because you were unconsciously against yourself internally. There's no settling internally. There's no calm internally. There's no serenity internally. There's no peace internally. There's no bliss internally. There's no fulfillment internally. So how the fuck could you ever enter that externally? It's the understanding on earth as it is in heaven, as within, as without. There's a heavenly order to the materialization of your desired reality. John 3:27. A man cannot receive unless it is first given to him from heaven. You have to understand state of consciousness first. Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. John 21:6. Cast your net to the right side. Understanding to your consciousness, to your subconscious mind, to the illogical. You need to understand one thing in particular, and that is any form of disharmony within will be magnified without. Frustration internally, frustration externally. More conditions, circumstances, events, and people that make you more frustrated. Guilt internally leads to condemnation. Externally, through conditions, people, circumstances, and events. Beating yourself up internally can only go one way. Being annoyed externally, it just makes more shit in your life to start. Guess what? All of this stuff, your internal, think about it like this. Your internal emotional state determines the cards that you were shuffled by. Yes, there'll be instances where you were given cards randomly that are completely irreflective of the frequency you're operating at. But more often than not, the cards of realities and conditions and circumstances and people that you meet, the cards that the universe deals to you, are always going to be reflective of your own internal state. When you're in a state of annoyance, guess what card the universe is going to be dishing out? Annoyance cards. It's the same thing with frustration. So understand, your old frequency wants you to think that you have to be perfect, that you can never slip up, that you can never fall off, that there'll be some days you don't meditate, that there'll be days, some days you don't journal, there'll be some days you don't visualize, there'll be days you don't affirm. Guess what? That's fucking fine. And you need to accept it's fine, because you haven't accepted it's fine. And because you haven't accepted it's fine, it's just waiting for its chance to say, yeah, look at you. Yeah, you thought you were doing it, huh? You fell off. Yeah, you thought. Yeah, you thought. And then you descend into these things. And then all of these things are always going to be reflective of what? The old frequency. So I need you to do one thing in particular for me. I need you to give yourself grace, because there will be instances where you don't meet up to the level that you want. But please understand this. Despite whether you equate to things externally, I always need you to be calibrating and at a point of harmony within. Despite instances where maybe you don't, you're not on things as you should be. There'll be days you don't slip up. There'll be days you slip up, There'll be instances where you do emotionally react to things. There'll be instances where you do get frustrated with things. There'll be instances where things don't go your way and it does bother you. I need you to give yourself grace, because unfortunately, we kind of adhere to this old frequency's concept of perfection, and we end up beating ourselves up for falling. It doesn't make no fucking sense. And it doesn't make sense, especially with the next point that I'm about to come and introduce, because this will wrap up some spiritual bullshit that these niggas seem to be kind of propagating out here and kind of pushing for whatever particular image. Now, let me explain what I mean. I knew how to stack my peas when shit was slow. Common sense when my niggas pop bottles and I didn't go. Still caught up in this dumb war. You know much times I slapped up fiends for knocking my mom's door.
Nero is the only person who has ever been able to get me to sit down and watch anything for more than 20 minutes at once. So that's how I know he's the real deal when it comes to manifestation. Absolutely, truly superb video, Nero. You and AJ are making a contribution to the world that is... My vocab is not that good.
You can't read?
Can't read, bro. Semistic. You might have to read that yourself, bro. I've never seen that word in my life.
Seismic.
Very, very... I might have to...
That's points down for Jamaica. What did you do? That's points down for you Jamaicans right there. He just lets you down.
I swear you said I'm African.
You are.
That's why I can't read.
Ha!
Insight. Very
How dare you?
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Very grateful and thankful for both of us.
No, thank you.
Especially you.
Thank you to you.
You're changing the world, my friend.
Who, me?
Yes.
We're doing it together. They're gonna study us in the future. I mean, shit, they study us now.
Study us in schools. They're gonna lay out your transcript and be like, let's dissect this.
Any other ones? I actually saw a comment because you know me, I go through all the comments. Like, I'm in those comments more than you lot. Somebody was like, oh, Nero started wiping a board at 2 minutes and then he finished that at 4 minutes. So then I thought he was stopping. And then he started cleaning again for an extra 2 minutes. Some guy said I cleaned the board for 4 minutes, one video. I don't think that's true. That's gotta be propaganda.
I believe him. I believe him when I'm editing the videos. I'm like, why is it just silent here for like 2 minutes?
You know, a lot of people are afraid of silence. I'm not afraid of silence. A lot of people, they're afraid of it. Not me. Not me.
Someone called Uncle Lucas.
Uncle Lucas?
Yeah. Said, you dropped the video when I was at class in uni. I literally just left class and sat down in one of those quiet areas in uni to watch one of your videos and take notes. It's safe to say I'm learning much more from your video than whatever the F I was doing in class. Hashtag Professor Nero on top, no Diddy.
Yeah, pause on Nero on top. Pause on that one. He said he was in uni, he left uni because we dropped the video to go watch it. Hey bro, don't fail, man.
Goes in for a shock at graduation.
Nah, you get me. When you find out you're not graduating, you'll be confused, man. Don't.
Bro said when you're not graduating. Yo.
Nah, I appreciate that though. Don't worry. I mean, with all of this shit, you can pass uni anyways. That's how I did it. I remember there was one time in uni, I did computer science. There was one time I done a test and I got 0 out of 100.
Nah.
0 out of 100. I couldn't even believe it. I couldn't even believe what I was looking at. Like, I was literally like honestly, 0 out of 100. I've never got, and I manifested a degree in computer science. So, you know what I mean?
You must have wore them glasses while doing that exam, bro.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. I was so confused.
Nah, 0
like to the point
dark.
where, like, those questions are answered. Like I did working out with. I didn't get marks for working out. It was mad. You know, sometimes you can get marks even if you don't have the right answer, but they can see that you kind of.
Yeah.
Nah, not even. Nothing, bro.
I don't know about all of that, Chief.
Saw me go from bread and water to lobster and wine. That's where I never air calls when she hollers my line.
Jeez.
That's nice, bro.
I know. Has 9 hit you up yet?
No. You said yet?
Yeah.
So, I don't think I've ever used this color, that's why I picked it. Seems a bit strange. Nonetheless, you can't escape the highs and lows of reality. Why? Due to polarity. Polarity is nothing more than a third dimensional realm illusion, which we are all subject to, and it's another way of saying separation. A separation that exists only within the physical plane, only within our reality, only within our third dimensional realm. I'm separate to AJ separate to me, I'm separate to you. But the truth of the matter is we're all one, we're all in each other. I'm in AJ is in me, so on and so forth. Pause. Now, to revert back to what I was saying, polarity only exists in reality. So if we say reality is everything under my hands and everything above is the higher planes of existence, outside our reality, everything is one, everything is interconnected, everything is oneness. Hence why in quantum mechanics, they have a concept known as quantum entanglement, which is the idea that when two particles are connected, no matter how far separated they are across the universe, what you do to one is instantly done to another because they are one in the same. Now, polarity is in our reality. Polarity is in our reality. Now, the purpose of polarity for the alchemist, for you, is to transcend polarity by not seeing things as separate. Now, for the purpose of this example though, I need you to understand something that spiritual niggas I don't know. So I'm not too much on like spiritual YouTube or like even seeing spiritual stuff. Like my social media content is just brainwash shit that you guys probably wouldn't even believe that I look at. Ask AJ. We literally scroll through like social media whenever we're done recording these because my brain is a bit empty. But when I did, spiritual people have this particular image. It's no different from a pastor. I mean, psychologically, they still have the programming of religion, which is the idea of being holier than thou. Pretentious, exactly. The pretentious image. This is something that trickles from religion even into spirituality. Whenever you see spiritual people online, whether it's the way that they talk, it's very namaste, hashe, or the way that they conduct themselves or the way that they post themselves, it's a very, very like serene, calm, to such a degree that you think, is this what they're like all the time? And they talk about being high frequency. So you kind of have this idea that there's this standard that you must adhere to, that there's this idea that you can always be high all the time. But the truth of the matter is, due to the fact that we all adhere to the third dimensional realm concept of polarity, the truth of the matter is we're all subject to the laws of highs and lows. You cannot be high without being low, and you cannot be low without being high. To kind of piggyback off the example that I just spoke about previously, I need you to understand something. There'll be instances where, despite you knowing all of this stuff, still will be lows. And there will also be highs. And that's okay, because that's how reality is comprised. But the highs and lows are nothing more than representative and dependent upon your internal and mental and emotional state. What do I mean by this? You can't escape the highs and lows of reality. Kind of to revert back to the original point, it's not about what's going to happen. It's about who you're going to be when it does. And let's say a low happens. Are you going to be reflective and resonant with that low from a point of frequency? Now, what do I mean by that? Do I mean that you're going to descend into drinking Don Julio and eating, terrible meats and all of this and all of that? No, that's not what low frequency is. You have to understand that frequency is nothing more than an energetic signature that has momentum built upon it. Now, that expresses itself in human beings as our level of awareness. So if you think about frequency as awareness, a lot of people determine frequency to be feeling. No, feeling is a side effect of awareness. Let's borrow that down. If someone is a high frequency, does that mean that they're walking barefoot on grass and they don't eat meat and they don't drink and they don't smoke and they don't do this and they don't do that? No. That's not what high frequency means. To be in a high frequency is to have a high level of awareness. Because when you have a high level of awareness, that allows you to mentally navigate reality to such a degree that you are unaffected by it. That is what it means to have a high frequency. In turn, to have a low frequency or a low level of awareness or a low frequency isn't about drinking, because I'll do that. I'm probably going to do that this weekend. It's not about eating meats. I eat meat all the time. Pause. It's not about not listening to Future and shit, because what the fuck? Having a low frequency is nothing more than a low level of awareness. You can do all those things that I just mentioned and still have a high level of awareness. Why? Because it's not about physically, it's about metaphysically, it's about your state of consciousness, it's about the higher planes of existence. Now, is that me saying that those things don't have effect on your vibratory signature? No, they do have an effect on your vibratory signature, but they don't affect your capability of materializing things. There's degenerates in this world that are living in your desired reality, and they're manifesting it quite easily, and they don't do half the shit that you niggas convince yourself that you have to do. Right? So get out that mentality of attributing causality to externality. It's not about you changing your diet. That's not going to bring you close to your reality. It's not about doing this. It's not about doing this. It's not about doing that. It's about being that. Understand the difference. Now, a low level or a low frequency is a low level of awareness. And when you have a low level of awareness, think about it like your lens is blurred and you don't see clearly. So when you don't see clearly, you can walk into a wall and you experience pain. That's what it's like having a low frequency, hence why it results in a particular degree of negativity. But you can't escape the highs and the lows of life. I need you to understand there's going to be instances where you feel like you have elevated, and there's going to be instances where you feel like you have fallen. Emphasis on feel like. Emphasis on it's going to feel like you've fallen. It's going to feel like you've risen. Why? Let me give you an example. So oftentimes people will be like to me, yo, I've been on my shit. I've been doing everything I've been doing. So let's conceptualize it like this. They're doing everything they need to be doing. And then they say, yo, I fell off. This is an illusion presented by the old frequency. That's what you think it's like. That when you fall off, you fall right back down to the bottom. No. When there's instances where you slip up, What it's truly like is this. Now, at this moment in time, you have a decision to make. You have a choice to make. You can go all the way down here, or you can let this be the bounce point from where you continuously go up. Now, what determines this versus this? It is your conceptualization on this.
You're saying set a stop loss.
In a sense, a metaphysical one. Your definition of what it means of highs and lows is what completely determines it, because I need you to understand something. Like I said, there will be instances where you feel like you've fallen, or you feel like you're not performing to the best that you can, or moving in the frequency that you'd like to. But once again, I need you to understand something. You have only fallen because you have risen. That's a bar, write that down. You have only fallen because you have risen. Say it with me. I have only fallen, why? Because I have risen. And I need you to understand, eventually, right? This is one level of understanding of highs and lows and polarity, but eventually there's going to have to come a point where you are transcendent of polarity and you're above it. And that can only arise when your mental and emotional state isn't depending upon reality. Because here's the unfortunate thing about reality. Sir Isaac Newton said, for every force, there's an equal and opposite force. Sir Isaac Newton said that, which means if when things are going right and everything's amazing, you can be brought 10 feet into the air. You set in motion the potentiality to be taken 10 feet down to hell. Why? Because of your internal state is dependent upon your external state. If your internal state, your mental and emotional state, your frequency, your state of consciousness, your self-concept is all dependent upon what's going on outside of you, then guess what that makes you? Reality bitch. Quite literally. Hence why my definition of manifestation, AJ's doing pimp slaps. Hence my definition of manifestation. Manifestation is internally shifting to a degree to which you are no longer emotionally dependent upon seeing reality change. There's going to have to come a point where you relinquish your internal state being dependent upon reality. Because if your internal state is dependent upon reality, then reality determines your internal state, which means it determines your external state, which then puts you in a perpetual cycle where you feel like you're trapped. If you ever feel like you're trapped and you're going in the same cycles, it's because internally, whether you realize this or not, you're going through the same cycles. You can't escape the highs and lows of life. You can't. It's natural, there will be highs and lows. The tide goes in and out. But it's the same way, like trains leave the train station, but you're the train station. You're not the trains, you're the train station. You're the sky, you're not the clouds. Clouds come back and forth. You're not the waves, you're the ocean. You have to understand you are what is formless. You are what is transcendent of it, unless you determine yourself to be so, because there are no truths in reality other than what the subconscious mind accepts as true. So if you determine that, fuck, this is a low point, so I'm really, really going through. Guess what you do to your subconscious mind? You calibrate it to be reflective of low, so then you put yourself in lows without realizing that you don't have to be in a low. Now, you can't, when I say you can't escape the highs and lows of life, I mean you can't escape the highs and lows of life externally, but you can escape them internally by relinquishing internal dependence of your state of consciousness from the external. And the only way you can do that is neutrality. The only way you can do that is to see the high in the same way you see the low, to see it as one, because that's when you transcend separation and you step into unity and elevation, which is what truly the infinite intelligence, God, the creator, the all represents. Transcendence of duality. Hence why the infinite intelligence, when it was materialized in us physically through what's called a Christ figure or a Buddha figure, right? These particular individuals had transcended duality to such a degree that they saw everything in a particular level of oneness. Hence why Jesus gave the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. Why? Because those others are you. It's the understanding that this separation that exists, this is what they speak about esoterically when they talk about the spiritual mind and the carnal mind. This is what Paul was talking about. But let's remove time. Right there, mate. You look like you're in deep thought.
Nah, because I was just thinking that's what I did in terms of brand deals. Because Q1 for brand deals was slow for me. Q2, oh boy, it's picking up, boy.
Oh, you're saying that in Q1, your internal was dependent upon your lack of brand deals.
Yeah. And I was like, man, this is a low point. Then it got towards the end of Q1, I was like, you know what, fuck it. It is what it is.
Mhm.
It will come to me. Next thing I know.
It already came to you, bro. It came all over you.
I should end the video right now. I should just turn
I'm
off.
so sorry.
That is the most ridiculous thing ever.
No, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous, bro. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, it did come to me
Yeah.
in abundance.
Well, see, that's the thing. You can't escape the highs of low. What? Eesh.
Yeah, end it, bro.
Ooh.
End it, bro.
No. You can't escape the highs and lows of life externally, but you can escape them internally. And the only way you do that is by understanding, once again, the central theme of this video. It's not about what's going to happen. What's it about, AJ?
It's about who you're going to be once it happens.
Thank God.
You know, I remember because you told me this one-on-one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When we were playing FIFA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick?
Oof. Oh. Everything all right there, mate?
Just about.
Last point. Any comments? Any other ones? When did we go through?
I think there's one or two. Give me a sec.
Sorry, take your time. It's better when you take your time.
So I just experienced one of the craziest manifestations I've had recently.
Ooh.
After losing everything,
Oh.
or rather having the universe take it from me,
You took it from
including
yourself.
all my money.
Actually, I'd like to make a point on that.
Go on.
So he said the universe took things from him. I need you to understand that anything the world gives you, it can take from you. What do I mean by this? You have to understand that consciousness is all you have. Anything that you ever receive physically, whether it's a person, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's a promotion, whether it's an amount of money, all of these things are externally, which means that if you allow the world to give them to you, you allow the world to take them from you. You have to understand, don't confuse cause with effect. Those things don't calibrate you. You calibrated yourself to them. The world, you don't react to the world is reacting to you. So when that individual said that the universe took things from him, what he didn't realize is that the only way the universe took things from him is because he had attributed emotion to receiving them. Go back to the point that I just said about Sir Isaac Newton, for every force there's an equal and opposite force. So if you allow the universe to give you a certain level of consciousness, if you allow the universe to take you to a high, it can take you to a low. Hence why you need to be independent to whatever the universe gives you, because at that point you're truly giving it to yourself. Sorry, AJ.
After losing everything, including all my money, my wife, many family members, and friends, I was at a spiritual bottom for years. I couldn't find a job or even short-term contract work. I was only being offered unpaid gigs. When I finally let go and trusted that I'm in control of my reality and just let myself be, I went from being 100k in debt to remembering I had a small retirement account from 15 years ago. When I called to check on it, I found out I had over 200,000 in the account. That's the craziest shit ever. And I want to say thanks for putting out these videos, because they help so much in teaching us how to materialize our desires.
Do you know why you were able to get that? Because you had opened yourself up to the infinite potentialities. Because here's the thing, and this is kind of online with the video, or on topic with the video, sorry, aligned with the video. I said online, crazy. The thing is, why are you laughing?
You jammed like 3 times in the last 5 minutes.
Why are you laughing? The thing about the universe is that you cannot perceive more than you are. What do I mean by that? He wasn't in a state of consciousness to actually remember that this was something that he once upon a time had. Due to the state of consciousness of going through everything and losing everything, he then came to a point of letting go and letting God, which is nothing more than an esoteric way of saying give up the conscious mind and step into the subconscious mind, which is another way of saying giving up the finite and entering the infinite. Then the infinite was able to calibrate to him and get him to remember of this particular reality that eventually led him to where he wanted to be. So you just weren't in a state to remember you had that account, but then through the work that you've been doing, so on and so forth, congratulations, you were able to remember. You could have potentially even, went through the rest of your life never remembering it. You know what I'm saying? That would have been a long day.
Oh, imagine.
That would have been a long day.
Get into the afterlife, someone said, bro, you had 200k.
Oh, nah. I'd be like, nah, let's replay. Nah, that's great though. Congratulations. You said you got any other ones?
I think this is the last one. I never comment on any videos, but I must say Nira is the only teacher that made me find, that has
you
finally...
to read again.
No, bro. I never comment on any videos, but I must say that Nero is the only teacher that has finally made me calm and at peace. All these manifestation gurus have been making me feel pressured to manifest, but now I understand I am calm, fulfilled, and satisfied, and in true God nature.
And now you're setting up the potentiality or the inevitability of being calm, satisfied externally, which is resulting in the materialization of your desired reality. So well done. I mean, yeah, I don't know what other people say. I mean, in my head, when it comes to all of this shit, I'm the only one that exists. So I'm the biggest that there is. You understand what I'm saying? I don't really pre or see what other people are doing. I just kind of stick to myself. But I'm sorry that they're making you feel pressured, and I'm glad that you don't feel pressured anymore, because the only time you're ever going to feel pressured when it comes to manifestation is if you still have an incorrect definition of what manifestation is. In my book, there's a chapter called Redefining Manifestation, and part of it is coming to the understanding that it's not about changing reality. It's not about making the world give you what you want. It's about internally becoming and reaching a point till you have no dependency on reality externally. It's an internal focus as opposed to an external focus. You understand what I'm saying? The last thing. Now, doing. Now, what often happens with my clients in particular is that they'll say to me, I haven't been in my new frequency because I haven't been meditating, I haven't been visualizing, I haven't been affirming, I haven't been journaling. I need you to understand something. Each one of those actions are in the realm of doing. Doing does not create. Doing does not create. Say it with me. Doing does not create. Even when you do those things, the only reason you do those things is to internally be different. Because being is what ultimately leads to creation. Doing does not lead to creation. Doing does not lead to creation. It's not about how many times you meditate. It's not about how many times you visualize. It's about your state of being ultimately. So in an instance where you don't do 7 meditations in a week because you want to meditate every day, you think that you fuck things up. No. You fuck things up if you accept and believe that you fuck things up because you haven't done it. You understand now? I need you to understand the fact that being is ultimately what leads to creation. And more often than not, we see physical examples of people doing things to try and get things and it doesn't work. Let's say the concept of praying. I grew up in church. I see niggas praying all the time for things that they never got. Why? Because, what are you smiling at?
Man said niggas praying all the time for things that they never got.
It's such an upsetting and unfortunate reality. Like, prayer in a religious sense doesn't work. Prayer in a religious sense doesn't work. If prayer in a religious sense worked, we wouldn't need hospitals, we wouldn't need doctors, we wouldn't need food banks, we wouldn't need benefits, or what's it called in America, welfare. We wouldn't need any of that. But when you really come down to an understanding of prayer in a metaphysical sense, it's because prayer in a religious sense gets people focused on praying. They think prayer is those 30 minutes or 1 hour or even 5 minutes where they're on their knees asking God or thanking God for something. But doing doesn't create, because ultimately, even when they're praying, the state of consciousness that they dwell in is in complete contradiction to it. So let me ask you like this, and extrapolate this to your visualization, journaling, meditation, visualization. Let's say you do that shit for even 30 minutes. Let's say you do that shit for 30 minutes, and by the time of it, you're like, yeah, I've got what I wanted. I'm in the state of consciousness reflective of what I want to be. But then you go and spend 12 hours of your day in a complete state of being contradictory to what you were doing. 12 hours is stronger than 30 minutes because your state of being is ultimately where you spend most of your time. It's where most of your existence is emitted to the universe. It's the largest part of your frequency as opposed to your doing. So focus on being instead of doing. Understand, being over doing. It's not about those instances where you're doing the isolated practice of manifestation, whatever you think it is. It's about who you're being outside of it. Because the more you are who you say you are outside of it, the more the universe will believe you. But when you're down there for your visualization or your prayers or your affirmations, or you're doing this for 1 hour, and then you go spend 12 hours of your day in direct contradiction to the state of consciousness that you want to materialize, how the fuck could you ever expect to materialize it? It's the understanding that it's about your state of being. Niggas have a to-do list. You need a to-be list. This state of consciousness, this desired reality, who would I be? What are their characteristics? What are their qualities? Write down those characteristics in their state of being. How do they feel? How do they think? Get down how they feel. Write that down, because that is now your to-be list. Every day, that's what you need to make sure you are being, because that's what leads to creation. Now, is that me saying doing is useless? No, doing isn't useless at all. I have a video on how to actually take action in the correct way, because more important than action is action preceded by the right state of consciousness. Because Wrong frequency, right action will produce a wrong reality each and every single time. So yeah, those are things to remember while you're manifesting. Have fun. Don't forget them. Make sure you might actually want to come back to this every now and again, because these are things that your old frequency is going to make you forget. It's going to get you and be like, hey, you haven't meditated today. You haven't visualized today. You haven't done it, without realizing that you need to say to it, that isn't what leads to creation. I lead to creation.